Most creatives are hiring help the wrong way. If you are a creative or a creative brand hiring other people to complete tasks or complete projects, be a part of project for you who are not your employee, this video is for you because most creatives are hiring help the wrong way. And it's interesting that people then get to bring their issues to us when there's almost a breakdown in the relationship, in the working relationships, and when things are already beginning to go south. But at the end of this video, you will know what it takes to safely have other people work on a project with you in a way that doesn't jeopardize your interest. If this is the first time that you are seeing me, I am Omolere Abisola. I am a partner at Omolere and Omolere Law Firm, and I am the founder of LSCC, empowering creatives and creative brands with practical legal insight and maximizing and protecting the intellectual property rights. In this video, I'm going to walk you through a simple 5-step legal framework that you can use when hiring other people on a project that you're working on, just so that your best interest is protected. This is a framework that at LSCC we share with creative brands that helps them in their work with other freelancers or other people working on a project with them. And the feedback that we've received from these creative brands that we work with is that it sets clearer expectation and just allows for a smooth workflow. If you'd like to get this checklist, which we've put together in a PDF for you, the link to download it will be in the description to you at no cost whatsoever. You are welcome. And at the end of this video, you will have a clear practical step that you can immediately use when working with other people. And the last step is one that is easy to miss. So stick around for that one because you don't want to miss it. Having said that, let's get into it. The first step will be to define the scope, to clearly define the scope, having it vivid, having it very clear in your mind's eyes. Exactly what do you want this person to do for you? Think through it. Don't just keep it on the surface level. Think through everything that you want this person to do for you. You want them to write a song for you. What type, what style of song, what is acceptable as complete, what is acceptable as the song being delivered. So really think through the entire scope of the work that you want them to do. And one mistake that people make is really not having a thorough understanding of exactly what they want this freelancer to help them do. And so when there's confusion or haziness around the scope of work, that is a recipe for disaster. So you want to be sure that you have a vivid, clear, detailed scope that describes exactly what this person coming onto your project is to help you do. And once you have that, this is what you take into the kickoff meeting. The kickoff meeting is nothing but the meeting where you are discussing with this freelancer, creator, or this person who is working on your project. Because if you have a clear picture of what you want them to do for you, then it's really easy to explain it to them in the first meeting that you have together, which is the kickoff meeting, where they get to understand about the scope of work that you need them to help you with. And so this is the first step to hiring creatives correctly. You having an understanding of exactly what you are inviting them to do. The next is to draft an agreement and incorporate the scope of work that you have clearly defined. And an agreement is so crucial for a project when you're working with other people. And of course, this is where you can get a lawyer to help you out, or this is where you can work with templates, but I will advise do so very carefully. And even when you're working with templates, you should give it to a lawyer to review it at the end of the day. That really helps, right? But whatever you do, just make sure that you put things in writing. You don't ever want to get someone to do a work for you without putting things in writing. That is the biggest error you could make as someone having other people do a work for you. Not putting it in writing should never be. And of course, when you're putting it in writing, and that's where you discuss the things like ownership and just a lot of other clauses that should be included in the contract. And I have to say at this point that it doesn't have to be anything very complex, but you have to make sure that even when it is a concise document, it covers every angle that well, that can affect your position. And we do have a course at LSCC. It's called the Legally Smart Creators Copyright course, where we talk in depth about all of these contract clauses and explain it in the simplest way possible. That will really help you understand what goes into your contract, what goes into your document, and what it means. And so you want to be sure that you have an agreement in place and that you include the scope of work and other issues that ought to be in the contract. You have them clearly defined in white and black. Have you ever worked with other people without a contract agreement? Let me know in the comments. And how is it going? I can only hope that there are no issues in the future. So sometimes, honestly, there are no issues, but sometimes and many times they are, especially when the work is one that kind of does well, and then everybody wants a piece. Everybody wants a piece there, and because it's not been clearly defined, there's confusion everywhere, and everyone is fighting, and you just don't want that for yourself, and so you can avoid this from the get-go. For a significant project, most of the time it takes more than one person to bring the work to life. But when you're working with other people, then you also need to take care to be sure that there will be no confusion about the state of the work, the quality of the work, the ownership of the work, and just the exploitation of the work. And that's why this video is very important, especially if you're a creative or a creator or a creative brand who usually gets other people who may not be your staff or your employee to do a work for you. Next is to send the document over and have their consent or their signature on the document. Is to get their signature in writing. It's very interesting. A client was reaching out to us and they did use a template for their contract, but it wasn't a template that kind of worked completely in their favor. And so when you're using templates, you have to take care. Again, it's always nice to have a lawyer help you look through that. And again, when I say have a lawyer, it could be your friend. People think that it has to be the most expensive lawyer. That's not quite the case. It could be your lawyer friend who is your friend. It could be someone who, it could even be a law student who has or who is taking courses in intellectual property law, and that can help you out there. So get your signature in writing, and before the work begins, it's best to have all this, what we call paperwork, out of the way before the work begins, before money exchange hands. This is something that you should get out of the way, but make sure you get done and out of the way before work begins and before money exchange hands. Some people feel like sometimes that this kind of puts a bottleneck in the process, but that's not quite the case. It kind of prevents long-term or long issues in the long run. And so it's so vitally important. And when there are issues, maybe the person that you have engaged to do a work for you has other issues that they'd like to address, then it's best that you talk things through at that stage and negotiate to be sure that it works for you and can also accommodate their request if you can. Next, once the work is done and everything is done, everybody is happy, the work has been completed, the funds have been paid, it's nice to finalize things by sending a last email, just confirming that the work is done and everything is finished at this point. So that's something that you could incorporate as well. That's something you could incorporate in your workflow as well. And the last step for this video is one that people incidentally miss. And I'm thinking to myself, how is that? Keep a copy of the document. Keep a copy of the document. Keep it. You should have, and again, we discussed this in the Legally Smart Creators Copyright course. You should have a folder that covers for all of the contracts that you have, all of the working relationships that you have, all of the projects that you've done with other people. You should have a folder that keeps all of this document so that whenever there is the need, you can easily pull it out. Because I've seen cases where people swear that they did have a written document, but it was on their WhatsApp and the WhatsApp is gone. I'd say to you that documentation is so vitally important, and you haven't really done all of these 4 steps properly if you're going to skip the last one. Interestingly, sometimes conflicts that arise with respect to people who have worked together that I have seen both in my practice and also with examples that surround us could arise from not just the person who you did a work with, but even their heirs. And the only thing that is going to save you, or that is going to clearly define what your understanding with them was is if you have the document ready and can present it when the need arises. And don't think that it will never arise, because sometimes these issues arise long after the deal is done. But you want to be sure that you're able to present a documentation whenever you have to. Of course, I have to say that in getting their consent and getting their signature on the document, there might be some negotiations here and there, which is fine. And it's really important that you have that conversations before the project begins. And just so that you're assigning your project with no risk whatsoever to you. If you're serious about hiring other people for your project the right way, then we have put together for you a complete guide and contract templates that you can use to safely assign tasks for your project, just so that you're working on a solid foundation and you're working with no risk to you. If that's something that you'd like to explore, then the link to get those will be in the description, and so you can use that.